What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers for a multi-part series, the beginning of a multi-part series, which is entitled The Problem with Marvel TV. Now, this is part one of said multi-part series, and we're going to be talking about the length of seasons of Marvel TV shows, in particular the episode length of said seasons. Now, this conversation is happening in the wake of the Runaways season finale. Season 1 of the Runaways has concluded, and it got me and DeepBoyce thinking a bit about the state of Marvel TV and sort of some complaints that we've heard about Marvel TV shows, and also complaints and points that we've made about Marvel TV shows. In particular, commentary on the episode length, at least in this part of the multi-part series, or the season length. So, DeepBoyce, man, talk to me, man. Runaway Season 1 finished, 10 episodes. When we heard it, we were happy. We were like, listen, great, nice truncated season. You could fit a nice story in there. However, the way Runaway Season 1 ended sort of got us thinking about the larger scope of things, and maybe looking at Runaways like, hey, there could have been maybe an episode or maybe even two that could have made that first season feel a little bit more complete.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake about it. While overall, we rather enjoyed that first season.
Oh, yeah.
Just the way that final episode ended, I guess it was a big question mark. It was just, it didn't exactly leave us very satisfied with how they ended it, I guess, particularly because you want to be left with, I guess, a little something to kind of chew on until you're waiting to the next season, something to get you kind of thinking or talking about. And definitely there were a lot of things that happened in that episode. For sure. But as I thought about it, I mean, not only was that final episode, I guess, not as bad as what I initially thought, maybe because I had certain expectations coming into it. But I don't necessarily think that they needed an additional episode, maybe more as a, restructuring of that final episode and how they went about it. And honestly, maybe they could have gone even a little shorter than 10 episodes. Maybe they could have gone with 8 episodes because, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but maybe I kind of feel that they maybe lingered on with a few things here and there in this season that they could have really cut it down and really would have made this kind of hard-hitting and fast-paced 8-episode season. Because, I mean, we've talked about it, and I guess this kind of came about because Marvel TV, particularly Marvel Netflix, it usually seems like it's a little long in the tooth. But then, like,
I would even say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, because just because last season, that's something I'm going to bring up a little bit later, but, last season, while it felt good because there were modules, previous seasons have sometimes felt long, especially the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where it didn't really kick in until that Winter Soldier crossover. Oh yeah,
absolutely. And I think to the benefit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., splitting one season almost up into 4 seasons. I don't know if that's what they're doing with this current season. That's what they did with the last season.
Season 4.
Season 4, yeah. We had Ghost Rider. You had the Framework. You had like different things, and that was an amazing season from beginning to end because of that. Yeah. And like I said, this season, it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's difficult whether it's 8, 10, or even more than that. But like I said, I think overall in the entire season, maybe they spent a little too much time with the business about Nico's sister, how she died, the way that they kind of gave us a little bit of information here and there.
Sure, it felt like that mystery loomed a little too long.
Yeah, and they spent, they also kind of maybe spent a little too much time making the parents look evil. I think, if we get the point that they're out here sacrificing people, they spend one too many, moments here and there throughout the season with that. But overall, I think 10 episodes, I think that's a rather sweet spot, at least for this show, because really it just depends on what they tailor it should be the story first. They should tailor the episode length or the season length to the story that they're trying to tell. As opposed to setting an allotted number of episodes and trying to fill in the gaps. And, coming off of, again, I guess the last Marvel TV show, which was Punisher, which felt, again, kind of had that Netflix syndrome where it just felt a little too long. Having seen this, and not only is it online on Hulu, and you can essentially watch it whenever you want. You don't have to sit down on TV like the CW shows to watch them, or any show for that matter, to sit down and watch them at a certain point, or maybe even having to wait some time after it shows up online. You can watch it pretty much when it drops on Tuesdays, but dropping it weekly, I think also was a good move as well, as opposed to just dropping them all at once to try and encourage people to binge watch them.
I mean, I think I agree and I disagree with certain things. Like I do agree that the weekly releases of the episodes is actually a good plan. I like the way Runaways did it, where they dropped 3 episodes at the beginning of the season to get you hooked, and then they're like, but tune in next week. Yeah. Like, some people like to watch everything in one shot, and to a certain extent that's cool, but I think on a week-to-week basis, it's sort of, I honestly think if this had dropped at once, I definitely feel like things would have dragged on a bit. Yeah. Because, I mean, you kind of touched on it with, the issues they went into with the Pride. There are a lot of storylines, like, I know they want to fresh out the Pride a little bit more than they are in the comics. I get that, and I think that was ultimately a good move. But I felt like there was a lot of moving pieces with the Pride that sort of detracted from things. I mean, yes, Victor Stein going down was a result of the affair between his wife and Nico's dad, but that went on for a very long time. Yeah. That went on for a very long time. Dealing with the Yorkies and their shenanigans behind the scenes, sort of experimenting with Jonah's blood and sort of showing them in the lab and doing different things. It just felt like there were times where they showed a little bit too much. Darius's story arc, while necessary to fresh out Jeffrey Wilder's background and ultimately might be important to the run of Runaways, once again, in the grand scheme of things, sort of felt a little bit out of place. Yeah. Yes, it reinforced Alex's dislike for his father. However, Alex already disliked his father because of him being a criminal. Yeah. But I guess it's sort of, I think it tried to play with the theme in the comics, which is, in the comics we know Alex Wilder is loyal to his parents, and that's sort of like the ultimate decision he makes. And I think with this, they try to make you think, well, this is why he's not loyal to his dad, because of this. Yeah. But once again, it took us away from the core issue. So in that sense, I don't know if 10 episodes was the right call for them. It was the right call for the direction of the story they were trying to go in, which was to expound on not just the runaway characters. Exactly. Like I understand why they went that direction. I just felt like it also allowed them too much room.
Yeah, or
a little bit too much.
And maybe in hindsight, maybe that was part of the reason for some of the weaknesses. That there's an established story already there in the comics, but I guess their intention was to give you a little bit of what happens before they come together as the Runaways, because in the comics it happens rather early, and in this it happened pretty much at the very end in this last episode when they officially became the Runaways. So, not only are they kind of treading new ground in a sense, but they have to kind of keep it confined within the story that they're eventually going to lead in. And we'll see, what kind of differences that they embark on in season 2. But I totally agree. I mean, with some of just spending so much time on like the affairs of the parents, and also like the circuitous way that they kind of went about it. It was almost like it was taking away from the more interesting parts, where it was like, oh, we're just going to shove this in out of nowhere. And it's like, wait. Let's spend more time with this. In the midst of the show, it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Like when you're watching on a week-to-week basis. But then in hindsight, when you put it all together, you're like, y'all literally gave me the runaround, pun intended, by telling the story this way. Yeah, like it could have been in like one whole episode where all that stuff going on between the parents, you could have just like crammed it together and just made it more cohesive. Meanwhile, something like, let's say like Molly's parents' backstory, which I think is more important and more centrally tied to the Pride and Jonah and whatever's going on, they maybe could have spent a little more time, revealing that mystery, because I don't think they really kind of... I mean, what they gave us was really good, but maybe it would have been a better decision telling that story, because it's an interesting story about, a sacrifice they had to make from former members. And, I agree. And not necessarily. I mean, a number of these shows, they kind of do the whole backstory thing, but I think that was a backstory that I guess Hazy, you also agree was something that you wanted to see, that we kind of wanted to know more about, especially because it's like the biggest departure from what they did in the comics.
Yeah, and then when I saw it, I felt like there was emotional impact on the part of Molly, but I didn't feel like there was emotional impact from the parents. Like I didn't feel like that emotion poured through the videotape that sort of revealed that, you know, whatever Jonah was up to. And that's another character underdeveloped, like Jonah. Like Jonah there are a lot of questions about Jonah and what he's doing and why over the course of 15 years, whenever they asked him, he's never given them a straight answer about this renewable energy thing. Like, and
they just kind of like roll with it. And it's almost like, guys, well, come on.
Yes.
We're stretching
you're trapped in this situation. Yeah, it's been 15 years.
We're stretching the belief here a little too much. You're taking this guy's word a little too often. Especially when you don't like him. Like, you're probably kind of scared of him, honestly.
Right. And also, you know, the notion of accepting gifts. Like, they keep saying they all accepted Jonah's gifts. We saw Jeffrey accept the gift. I think it's alluded to that Tina and the technology that may be behind her wand may be part of that. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the rise of the Wizard Company is sort of a gift. But I don't necessarily feel... I know their success is due in large part to Jonah. But once again, I don't necessarily feel that was expounded upon in a way that felt fulfilling.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah.
And to sort of tie that into the larger arc of, you know, going back to the problem with Marvel TV and episode length or season length, I agree with you in that they should let the creators tell the stories they're telling. However, I can't help but still feel like 8 episodes is sort of the sweet spot if I'm going to watch something in Marvel TV. And now, as it pertains to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when I say 8 episodes, the modules.
Yeah.
That module idea in season 4, I don't know if any other show that I've watched has done that, but I felt like that idea was so refreshing.
It's amazing.
Now, it's difficult to generate, you know, multiple storylines for a season, you know, for a show that lasts 20-something odd episodes, but it felt so refreshing to have these, like, short installments. It felt like reading a multi-part comic book arc, you know?
Yeah.
So... And then I look at other examples, like this is one I'm gonna pull out from the past over here, but Agent Carter season 1, you know, the problem that we sort of had with Agent Carter season 2 is that we felt like they meandered a little bit and sort of they didn't delve into the character of Madame Mask enough.
Yeah.
And with season 1, that felt like the perfect amount of episodes for Agent Carter, and it delivered a strong enough story that although that wasn't supposed to be a show that got future seasons, it granted it a future season. Another example is The Defenders. Now, The Defenders, gotta be honest with you, I liked it, but I felt it was a little bit disappointing, but it wasn't because of the episode length. I actually feel like they did a really good job with the episode length, except for the fact that once they shifted over to the Hand, I think the Hand in general was just weakly designed in a Netflix series. Because even in Daredevil season 2, once they shift over to the Hand, lose a little momentum. Iron Fist, they focus on the Hand, lost momentum. Like it just never really, the Hand never really came into the big picture and the focus. Especially the 5 fingers of the Hand, they never really were the threat that they were made out to be.
Yeah.
But I still feel like the way the Defender story was told was solid over 8 episodes. So for me, the sweet spot is 8 episodes. I feel like sometimes the Netflix shows, I feel like, you know, you may argue differently, but I feel like the Netflix shows, there are points when we reach like maybe episode 10 or 11 where we're just like, all right, we need to let's speed this up a little bit. There's always a portion of the show. I mean, let's take Punisher, right? Lewis's story, that 100% felt like a side arc.
Yeah,
100% felt like something that didn't. It was them trying to tell the story of a veteran and them trying to tell multiple stories of veterans.
Yeah.
But Lewis's arc just felt like it distracted.
Totally agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree. I mean, maybe it's an issue of budget or money, or maybe however many episodes it is that they make on the next Netflix shows, it's because it's going to gain them a certain amount of profit. You know, maybe it is profitable to have more episodes than less.
For sure. Of course, I would think so.
And I guess maybe they kind of are already leaning towards, it's almost like 2 storylines within one season. And like you said, it's I mean, comic books do it all the time. These are comic book properties. I don't think we would really be that upset, because I feel being online on these online platforms, it's almost like you have agency to do whatever you want. I mean, what if you split it into, let's say you do 16 episodes, and is part one is eight episodes, and the second part is also 8 episodes, and it's within a certain period of time. You know, instead of saying, you know, this is season 1, and then 2 years later is the second season, maybe you can do those 2 parts and release them whenever you want. I mean, even shows that are syndicated or they're on television, they take breaks all the time. You know, they have inconsistent schedules anyway. So there's no reason to not do that.
It's great that you bring that up, because that also sort of made the time differences with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit more bearable. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't remember what the gap with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was in terms of like episode runs for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in season 4. But I do remember that, you know, they've had portions during the show's run where there's a significant a number of weeks in between when they continue the show, and they usually sort of split the season into 2 parts. And I think with the modules in season 4, that felt more consumable because of the way they told the stories. It felt okay when they were just telling these sort of compartmentalized storylines that did bleed into each other, but also were their own things. And then when it took a break, it didn't feel like they just left me in a way where I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, yeah, it was a cliffhanger of sorts, but when it came back, I felt like I had enough in the previous installment, and now I was ready for the next share of stories they wanted to tell. But DeepBoyce, man, just to conclude this part of the conversation, final words on the problem with Marvel TV. Is it a problem? Do they have a problem with episode or season length and the number of episodes they have?
When it pertains to the Runaways, I think 10 episodes is good. I think they could definitely squeeze it into 8. But, you know, that you don't often see 8 episode seasons of anything. So if they're going to do 10, that's totally fine. And, you know, we'll see what happens with the next season. They probably have more material to kind of go in if it's really and truly the beginning of the comic, I guess, the story that they're beginning to tell. And, you know, I guess some of the negative feelings stem from a lackluster final episode, which,
yeah, I think so.
You know, again, like at first when I saw it, I was like, but it did set up a certain amount of things that were kind of interesting. It just it didn't you know, punch you in the face like you want a season finale that's gonna get you excited for the next season to kind of hit you in the face with. And you know, not I know sometimes I praise shows or movies or things when they do things a little bit unconventionally, but I think it wouldn't have hurt if the show did the conventional thing and wrapped up storylines that they started at the beginning of the season. While, yeah, obviously you got to maintain some of the things open for the next season and some mysteries and whatnot, there's still a story that you're telling that has a beginning and an end. So I don't feel like it really like ended at the end of this season on the 10th episode.
Right. You know, I think that was well put, man. But that being said, guys, the conversation is never over when we end a video. It's all to the league right now. What do you guys think? Is there a problem with Marvel TV season lengths? Is there a problem with the number of episodes in each season? Is there a problem with the way they tell these stories across you know, the span of a season? Let us know in the comments below. And also, make sure you check in for part 2 of this video series where we talk about the problems with Marvel TV. And hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the Spectacular Spoiler League, including part 2 of this multi-part series. And as always, guys, drop a like on the video, show us some love, help us get this video out here. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.